I am Susan from Sunrise Quilt Studio, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I came up with the design for the border of the cat's cradle quilt. Now this is the outer border, the one with the green fabric, and I spent several days filming this video because I kept changing my mind on what I was going to do on the border. So I'm going to show you the final designs, and I'm going to show you a couple of tips on how you can measure out your borders so that your design comes out evenly without using math. Now I spent several hours over the weekend and did some research and did a lot of drawing to decide what I wanted to do in this border. I came across a quilt that I saw that had this design in it that I really liked, and I got my arc rulers out and I tried each different ruler to see if I could get the arc in the way I liked it, and then get the template itself marked so that I could do these curved cross hatches easily. And it turned out to be just too much work. It wasn't going to work for me. The rulers that I only have one that is actually made for curved cross hatching. It was too small. My other arc rulers aren't marked for curved cross hatching, so I was putting tape down as guidelines, and it was just kind of off. I could not get it to look good, so I nixed that idea. I considered doing feathers in arcs like this, and then putting something else in here instead of cross hatching. But what I finally decided to do, after doodling different ideas, I decided to do this design here. This one at the bottom. This is going to have cross hatch on the outer edge of the border, and then the feather's going to be facing the body of the quilt. So it's the same design, same idea as the design on the other page, just instead of using curved cross hatching, I'm now doing just the straight cross hatching. And I will save the curved cross hatching for another time because I am going to order another ruler that will fit a little bit better. I considered this design too. I really liked it, but I think I have enough feathers in this quilt. I really did not need this much in the border, and I am going to have some cross hatching in the piece block, so I wanted to pull that in somewhere else in the quilt and decided to do that in that outer border. So one thing I wanted to show you was how I mark my borders to put the design in, and here you can see a section that I have marked, and I can do this using math. I can do the math in my head, I can do it on paper, I can do it on a calculator, but the easiest way to do it is to get a piece of adding machine tape. Now this piece of tape is actually half the size of my border. It's not the full length, but originally I did use the full length of the border, and that is counting from corner to corner, the inside corner of the border to the inside corner on the other side, the full length. And this design uses 2 squares, and if I can show you a little closer up here. Here's where the design divides. So to get the full design in, it takes 2 squares, 2 sections. So I need an even number of squares across the border to get the design to come out even on both sides. So to do that, I cut a piece of adding machine tape the length of the border from inside corner to inside corner. I fold it in half, fold it in half again. Each one of these folds gives me an even number of sections. Fold it in half again, and I kept folding until I got about the width of the section that I want. And this is a 4-inch border, so I wanted something close to 4 inches. This is the top border of the quilt, so these sections turned out to be just a hair over 4 inches, not quite at 4 1/8. I did the same on the side borders. These turned out to be 4 3/4 inches, so these are a little bit wider. But once I get this tape all folded, I lay it down along my border, get my water-soluble pen, and holding this in place, I put little tick marks where each one of these folds is. And then I come along with my ruler and I line it up. One of these lines, I line it up with the edge of the seam and draw a line and just go all the way across. And now I have all of my sections, and each section should be really close to the same size, and they fit within the block. This way I don't end up with getting to the end here and then winding up with this section being an inch longer, an inch wider than the other sections, or maybe it comes out to be just half the size of the other sections. So this way they're all the same size, and I do that on both the top and the bottom and the sides. Now the top and the bottom should be the same size and each side should be the same size, but I still use the adding machine tape on each one to make sure that everything is equal. And now I can draw in my design. And I started going ahead and drawing it in by going corner to corner. Now I have in here, I have a 1/2 inch line that is drawn from the outside edge in. So this is a 1/2 inch. What that gives me, it gives me a 1/4 inch for my binding, and it gives me a 1/4 inch fudge factor. So if I am in here in cross hatching and or if I have my feathers out on this side and I'm stitching in my feathers and I accidentally go over this line, it's not going to be cut off by the binding. It's going to be okay. It's not going to show. But my plan is to go ahead and stitch a line, quilt a line along here, and that will be my stopping point. And hopefully I won't go over that while I'm doing my quilting. And so I'll have a little 1/4 inch of negative space between my design and my binding. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in one section on each border, or at least one section on each border. One border I have already drawn out, almost all of it. And I'm going to do the cross hatching, and I'm going 1/2 inch cross hatching. So I'm lining my ruler up and on the 1/2 inch mark and just drawing my lines. Now when I get to quilting, I can always double check these with my ruler and make sure that I have these a 1/2 inch apart. But doing this ahead of time, I found really it does save me a little bit of time. I don't have to worry so much about this being exact. And I can always double check it and make sure that I've got things lined up the way they need to be. So when I get to quilting this, I have a little help here. Now I'm only going to do this on this one here. And then when I get to the next section when I'm quilting, I've already got a sample right here of how I want this to go, so I'll know where to stop and start, which sections get the cross hatching, which sections get the feathers, and it's not as confusing. So there's my cross hatching. Another thing I'm going to do is do a 1/4 inch on the inside, and this is going to be my negative space. It's kind of a relief area, and my feathers are going to go in here, and I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do these in freehand, but I'll go ahead and draw one in for you. And that one got a little wide. And then just a little one at the top. And that's how those feathers are going to go in. So I've got my plan laid out. The corner, it's going to be cross hatched up here. Sorry about that. I'm going to cross hatch up here, and I'm going to put a feather in this section. So okay, I have the corner design worked out, And this is what I'm going to do. It's the same style of feathers that are in the alternate blocks. It's just smaller, and they're bending around the empty space down here in these triangles. So you can see the crosshatch will go on the top and on both sides, and the feathers will fill in there. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to draw those in. Now these triangles aren't going to be exactly the same size because the squares aren't the same size. We've got the length of the quilt, the blocks, the squares that we drew were a little bit longer than here. These were 4 3/4 of an inch. So this design, though, I think kind of covers up the fact that they're different, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. So at least on the paper, the way it drew out there, as you can see, you know, you really can't see that much difference, so I think we'll be okay. So I've got a little 1/4 inch outline within the block, so I'll do that first. And then I'll hand draw in the freehand in the feathers, and this will be ready to go. Now this one already had the 1/4 inch in, so I'm okay. I'm also going to go from this corner to this corner to give myself a guideline for those feathers there. So I'm going to put my starting feather, which will be a full feather, and then just fill in. And just bringing the feather right back to the starting point. And then we'll go over here. I'm going to make these just a little bit longer because we've got a little bit more space here. A little bit longer and a little bit bigger. And I've got this one all the way drawn out. I could draw over this with a Sharpie marker and then lay it underneath my quilt and trace it too. So that is another way to do that. And then just a little loop at the top, and there we go. That'll be all done. So not too bad, it's not hard. We're doing 1/2 inch cross hatching, and I will use my ruler to help guide me when I do get this on the machine, and that will help me double check to make sure I have my lines drawn straight and that they're all lined up correctly. So that's a good way to double check everything. And then it will be ready to go. Finally, I thought I would have this quilt on the machine this week, like 2 days ago, and I'm still drawing the design, but I am done now so that I can get working on that hopefully this weekend. I've got a busy day tomorrow, so I probably won't get to it tomorrow, but I will hopefully get to it over the weekend. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw this one in. And then we'll get this done. Now, of course, you don't have to draw this in before you quilt it. You can just use your ruler and use the markings on your ruler as you go, and use that for your markings. And that's, like I say, I will do that too when I get to quilting this, so that I don't just as a double check, just to kind of make sure everything is going the way it should, and I think it'll turn out okay. So it just takes a little time, and I really don't know if this is any faster drawn it out ahead of time or not. I know some quilters like to do it ahead of time. It's a little security for them, and that works. I mean, whatever works for you is what you need to do. And so here we go. The corner design is in. I could have filled this all the way up here, but I felt that would make those feathers really too long, and I would probably need to do something different anyway, do a different type of feather. But I kind of like carrying this cross-hatching design all the way through the corner like that. So I'm going to leave it like this, and I will get this on the machine and get started quilting on it. And I'll show you then what I'm going to be doing in these blocks. First thing I have to do when I get it on the machine is to stabilize it, and that's stitching in the ditch and the borders and around all the blocks, and then I'll get into the quilting. So I will have video of that when that time comes.
Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links, and to keep up with my newest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.